Hey, what's happening, everybody? So we're going to do a quick tutorial on setting up your graphical user interface in Unity. So I've got class going on here in the Matthews High Tech Center. So you'll probably hear some ambient noise around me. Pay them no mind. We will just carry on. So the first thing you're going to do is, of course, just open up Unity. We're going to create a new project in Unity. And so just click on the new button. You've done this before. And just give this some time. So what I'm going to be showing you in this tutorial is setting up graphical user interface stuff. So let's call this Project GUI, GUI. And then I guess I'm going to save it. That's fine. I'm gonna save it on my desktop. So I'll just go over here and select desktop. Now look, I'm working on my Mac, so you know it's a little bit different. But none of this stuff is rocket science. You'll have the same interface, relatively speaking, come up. Just select your desktop to create your folder, because I think it's a little easier to find your work when you end up having to zip it and turn it in. Go ahead and create it as 3D. It really doesn't matter that much, but it should be helpful for you to create it in 3D. I'm going to go ahead and click on Create Project. All right, so here we go. All right, so here you've got your blank Unity interface. You know, I'm using, for my layout, tend to stick with default. If you don't already have default, I would go ahead and go up here and select that. It just makes it easier for you if you have the same layout as I do on the screen. And let's get started. First thing we need to do is just go ahead and create a scene. So go File, Save Scenes, and we're going to name this scene Scene 1. And click Save. And then let's go File, New Scene, and then File, Save Scenes, and we'll call this Scene 2. Because what you're going to do, of course, is you're going to create a graphical user interface that moves you back and forth between these two scenes. So then double click on Scene 1 to go back to Scene 1, and you're in Scene 1 now, and you can tell by looking up here and it says you're in Scene 1. So let's put our button inside of Scene 1. And we're going to need a script, and we're going to need buttons. Let's go ahead and do the script first, actually. So to do that, first let's clean up our assets here by going Create Folder, and so let's call this folder Scenes, and hit Enter. And then I'm going to grab these two scenes and pull them inside of that folder just to make things a little bit neater. Okay, so then from here, let's go ahead and create our script. So go Create C# Script, and let's name this Button Controller. No spaces or anything like that. Just call it Button Controller with no spaces. And then double click on Button Controller, the blank script, to start working on it. So you click on that. And so here we are. And the first thing we need to do is add one thing to these using commands up here. So you need to add using Unity Engine. Make sure the capital letters are there. Dot scene management. Okay, using Unity Scene Management, and end that with a semicolon, okay? So do that first, and then we're not going to need the stuff that's inside of the button controller mono behavior. You need this bracket and that bracket, but you don't need any of this stuff right here. So let's get rid of that. So what we're actually going to do is put inside of this a couple of functions, and it's going to be the functions that when run change scenes. So let's go ahead and declare the first one. So just to declare a function, it's going to be public, and then you type void, and then go. Let's call it go to, and it's going to be scene 1, right? So go to scene 1. So that's the name of the function. And at the end of that, there's no parameters inside of it. So just open and closed brackets like that. And then hit enter. And let's go ahead and open and then close brackets. And it's a very to the point function. So scene manager, and see, it'd fill it in for you if you wanted. Scene manager dot load scene. And then opening, and the name of the scene's got to be inside of the parentheses and inside of quotations, and so it's just scene 1, just as we named it in the game. So scene 1, closing parentheses, and then just add in your semicolon to finish that up. Okay, so then the second function can be done pretty easily if you just copy this. And then change scene 1 to scene 2. And we should be in good shape there, so file save. So there's your script. As long as I didn't mess anything up, that should be right there. So then we saved it, and we'll go back over to Unity. And right now, there's no buttons or anything, but we're going to put this script into the hierarchy by creating an empty game object. And let's just call this game object script holder. So we'll rename, and let's call it so it's our script holder. Do that, and then all we're going to do is drag and drop that script onto there, okay? So now the button controller script is on this script holder, and it's in the hierarchy. So we're still in scene 1, and let's go over to scene 2 and add it in there too. Make sure when it asks you to save the scene, you definitely want to do that. So let's put another script holder in there. So game object, create empty, and we'll call it script holder again. So right click on that, rename. Okay, so now you've got your script holder again, and you need to go back out to assets where you can see your script, drag and drop that there. All right, so now you've got your button controller script, and you've got the actual script attached to it. Okay, great. So now let's go back to scene 1. Make sure you save. So we need to create our button. So game object, UI, button. And it'll take just a second for Unity to create that. So once the button's created, it creates the canvas, which is, see right here, let's close this up. So the first thing that it creates is a canvas. When you put user interface stuff in, UI stuff, all of that stuff is on an invisible plane called the canvas, and this is it right here. And right now you can see the button is there on that canvas, and if I go to the game view, so there's the button on the canvas. So I'm going to go back over to my scene view, but this is kind of an awkward way to look at it. So just go up here and click 2D, and then that'll move you around to a more appropriate view, and you can just sort of adjust where that is in your scene view by pressing down on your scroll bar and just dragging. And then you can zoom in. And then if you want to move the button to a better spot, just go ahead and hit the arrow next to canvas and select button. Then go up here and select your move tool. And then use the arrows and you can place the button right in the center of your screen. So now, when you go over to your game view, it's going to be positioned right in the middle. So here's your button. And right now, here's the button options that Unity gives you. It's kind of pre-baked into it. You can see that it's interactable and that it transitions with a color tint. The target graphic is the button image that is just sort of cooked into Unity. The normal color of it is white, and you can see that it's white. The highlighted color, if you hover over it, is, if we go, and this is the game view, and I hit play, if I hover over it, it does get a little bit darker. You should be able to see that. Okay. Then if I press it, so it's going to turn this darker gray. So hit play. If I click on it, it turns that darker gray. Doesn't do anything yet, though. So let's go ahead and before we create our functionality, let's make these options a little more obvious. So I'm going to keep that normal color as white. I'm going to change the highlighted color to blue, and I'm going to change the pressed color to red. So now, if I close this up and I hit play, the normal color is white, the highlighted color is blue, and the pressed color is red, okay? So that's what those options do. Now, if you open up your button here, so there's the triangle next to it, and you hit that. So there you've got text. So you click on the text, and this is just the options for the text in the button. And right now the word is button, and we're going to change that because we're in scene 1, so this is going to take us to scene 2 if we hit it. So we're going to go, we're going to type in go to scene 2. And now it says that. So now if I go over here and I hit play, that's our functionality. And let's make our letters a little bit bigger. See if 20 fits. Yeah, that fits a little bit better. And is there a bold option in here? Yep, let's make it bold. So now, hopefully, we can see it a little bit better. I don't like that blue, though, because look, when you hover over it, you can't see it very well, that blue. So let's make it a lighter blue. So I'm going to go back over to button, double-click on this, and I'm just going to move over to a much lighter. That's kind of purple, huh? So I wonder if I can find it, like make it a little more blue. There we go. That's a little more blue. So now when I hit play, hover, and it's like that. Click, and it's like that, and that works out better for me. Okay, so undo that. So now the button has pretty good functionality. I mean, it has pretty good aesthetic to it. Let's go over to scene 2 and fix scene 2's button also. First, I'll go File, Save Scenes. Then I'm going to double click on scene 2, and we don't have anything in scene 2. So I'm going to go Game Object, UI, button, and if I zoom way out on this one, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, this is the game view rather. So I need to go to scene view, and it's right in the center, so that's good. And let's go ahead and change our colors on it. So we're on the button here. Normal color is white's fine. Highlighted color is going to be, we wanted it to be blue. That'll work. That's similar to the way it was before. And then we'll double click on pressed color, and we made that red. We made, so now the button will do all of that. Open button up, click on text, go over to text, make the text 20, and change the text to go to scene 1. And so now when we hit play and go over to the game menu, so I highlight, when I hover over it, it's blue, click on it, it's red, and we're good. So now we need to add our functionality. So I'm going to go File, Save Scenes, and go back to Scene 1. And select the button itself. Now, we need to go over here to the inspector, and it says on click. So right down here on the button script, so on clicked. And I'm going to hit plus, and this menu will come up, and I'm going to hit the target right here where it says none at the moment. I'm going to hit the target, and I need to go to, and I'm going to double click on script holder. And so now it's looking at script holder, the object inside of the scene, and it's looking at functions inside of that. So the script is called button controller. That's the script that's attached to it, and it's going to give you options for functions, and some of these are pre-cooked functions, but we're just going to go down. This is scene 1, so we need to go to scene 2 when this button's clicked, and I'm going to click on that. And so now you can see that the function of the button is button controller go to scene 2. So I'm going to go File, Save Scenes, and double click on scene 2. Same thing, I'm going to select the button, and I'm going to go over here and click plus on the inspector, click the target, go over to script holder, double click on that, then click here, go down to button controller, go to scene 1. So now when that's clicked, it's going to go to scene 1, File, Save Scenes. Let's go back to scene 1. And so now I'll go to game view, I'll hit play. Okay, the game's active. When I click on this button, something's not working, so let's take a look at what's happening here. Open this up, click on button. Should go to, so this is scene two, go to scene 2. I am in scene 1. It says go to scene 2. So let me go back over, let me take a look at scene 2. Okay. So let's go back to scene 1. And right here, see this error? Scene 2 couldn't be loaded because it's not been added to the build settings or to the asset bundle has not been loaded. So we're in scene 1 right now. And to fix this, you're just going to go up and click on the File drop-down menu and click on Build Settings. Inside of Build Settings, I want you to click on Add Open Scenes. So scene 1 has now been added to the build settings. So then I'm going to double click on scene 2 and add open scenes and close this. Okay, go back to scene 1 and hit play again in the game view. So here we are. Now I click that and it goes to scene 2, back and forth. So I'm switching between scenes by clicking the button. All right? So that's a real simple way to add functionality to get your GUI stuff. So how would you use this? In your game, the most obvious way is you're going to use buttons to start the game. So you might have a splash screen. Most of your games will have a splash screen, and we'll do some more detail on this where I can show you how to add images, the title of your game, etc., etc. But for now, what this does is enables you to have a splash screen that doesn't have the actual scene that is your game on it. Instead, it's just that opening splash screen, and you'll have a button that says press to start. Okay, and if you had a 2-player game, you might have a button that says press to start a 1-player game or press this one to start a 2-player game. And then when you hit that button, it will take you to the scene that's the actual game play area. Also, you could have a button with this kind of functionality you could have a game over scene. So when, let's say you have a character with 3 lives, when that character loses its 3rd life, then you have an instruction for the game to go to the game over scene, and it might have a button on it that says press this button to start over or press this button to play again. Okay, so this is just, a basic intro to using GUI interface, graphical user interface, and making buttons that work inside of Unity, and that's all there is to that.